Okay, so good morning, everyone, and welcome to this webinar where we will be discussing mental health and physical activity. My name's Jamie, and I'm one of the wellness and behaviour change coaches for the Firefighters charity. But I've also worked at one of our rehabilitation centres at Harkham House in Devon for about 5 years as an exercise therapist. This is a recorded session, so if you would like to refer back to it at any point, or you know someone who couldn't make it this morning, it will be uploaded along with the other webinars onto our charity app, which is called MyFFC, and it's free to download on your phone or on your desktop browser. This is a topic that I do really enjoy delivering. I've got a passion for trying to improve health through physical activity, exercise, and social prescriptions. So without further ado, I'll get into it. So the aim of the session, so really to understand the links between physical activity and mental health, to try and inspire you to increase or maintain your levels of physical activity, and to show you alternative methods of physical activity. And the reason we say that last aim is because a lot of people think initially about the gym or going on a long run in order to do physical activity or to be physically active. But in reality, we don't need to do those things necessarily to be physically active. So this workshop really emphasizes on the link and the association between our physical and our mental health and how one affects the other. So if we don't look after ourselves mentally, our physical health will deteriorate, and vice versa. If we don't look after ourselves physically, our mental health can deteriorate as well. So just some benefits now to try and enhance your understanding of the benefits to mood and cognition from physical activity and exercise, recognizing the potential barriers to being active and creating a feasible plan to incorporate a variety of types of exercise and physical activity into your everyday life. So first of all, just before we get into the mental health information, we'll just skim over some various types of exercise and the health benefits of them. So the first one we're going to talk about is the physical health benefits of cardiorespiratory activity. So what is cardiorespiratory exercise? So it basically just refers to the heart and the lungs. So cardiorespiratory fitness is the ability of the circulatory system and the respiratory system to provide oxygen all around the body whilst we're doing any kind of physical activity. So there are lots of physical health benefits from having a good level of cardiorespiratory fitness. As you can see, the main ones are really a reduction in chronic diseases, so type 2 diabetes, various types of cancers, osteoarthritis, but we also have stroke on there, and a reduction of cardiac conditions as well. And here's just some examples of different ways on how you can improve your cardiorespiratory fitness. So again, a lot of people think about going on long runs or long bike rides, but we don't necessarily need to do that. So you'll even see in some of the pictures, just somebody taking the stairs instead of taking the lifts. These are small things that we can do over time to try and improve our cardiorespiratory fitness. But just some examples: making activity a part of your life. So this is a good one for anyone that finds time management to be a difficulty in doing exercise. So if that is the case, just make your lifestyle more active where you can. And then one of the main other types of popular exercise is resistance activities and exercise. So what is resistance exercise? It's any form of exercise or activity where you're lifting or you're pulling or you're pushing against a resistance or against your body weight as well. So we use the word activity because that means it doesn't necessarily need to be exercise. We don't need to be in the gym lifting heavy weights, for example. It can be anything from carrying your shopping bags, pushing a buggy or a pram up a hill, or anything where you're using your body weight. And there are lots of physical health benefits of having a good level of strength as well. So we improve the bone mineral density, and this is particularly important as we age as well, when we're more susceptible to osteopenia, osteoporosis as well. We improve the strength of the muscles, of the tendons, of the ligaments, and that in turn is not only going to improve our performance with exercise and sport, but it also reduces the chance of suffering a musculoskeletal injury. We also improve our quality of sleep as well, which we know has a very large association with mental health illnesses as well. So with sleep deprivation and anxiety, depression, stress and fatigue, we also improve our balance, and we reduce the chance of lots of different cardiovascular and metabolic diseases. And again, I'm not going to go through all of these ones, but just some examples on how you can do some form of resistance exercise or activity. So you'll see in the pictures, although there are pictures of people lifting weights, there's lots of other pictures of people not in the gym. So even here, just somebody pulling a golf caddy, some other chap with a child on their shoulders, someone carrying a shopping bags as well. And you'll see in the top right here, these colored resistance bands. So these are really good because you don't actually have to go to the gym to use these. The different color equates to a different strength, but you can use these at home. You can put them on the side of a door handle. You know, you can take them to work. You can put them in your bag. They're really, really accessible and really easy to use. So a good recommendation if you haven't got the time to go to the gym. So just the other forms of exercise as well, just to recap. So we've got aerobic exercise, which we spoke about with the cardiorespiratory, similar sort of thing. So on here, you've got a picture of people doing a park run, and everyone's probably got one of these near them. They're all across the country and the world now, but they're a great way of starting to get active because they're non-competitive. You're only competing against yourself. You get your own time. It's totally free to enter, and it's available to all ages and all abilities as well, and you get to meet some nice people. So park runs are a great way of improving your aerobic fitness. We've obviously got balance and flexibility, so things like Tai Chi and yoga will help improve that. We'll talk about that one at the end. We've gone over strength exercise, and this is anaerobic exercise. So this one here is fast, explosive movements, like 100-meter sprint, for example. This one at the bottom left here, you've got someone doing some DIY around his house, and this relates to non-sport physical activity. So even though it's not a structured exercise, this person in the picture isn't necessarily doing this to improve their fitness, they are still using their muscles in the body. They are still getting their heart rate up. They are still getting their brain thinking. So even though it's a non-sport physical activity, it's still using the muscles in the same way and using the body. So on this bit now, I mean, if you've got a piece of paper in front of you, great. If you don't have a piece of paper, then don't worry. So just think about where you are now in terms of what a typical week's exercise looks like for you. So think about any exercise that you do regularly throughout the week, any sports that you might do, any hobbies that you do on a regular basis that gets your body moving. If you do have a piece of paper, then this is a good way to kind of set it out. I'll give you 30 seconds now just to have a little think. And if you do have a pen and paper, just write down on any days and any mornings, afternoons, or evenings where you do any form of physical activity that stands out. So it might be going to the gym in the morning. It might be doing six-a-side football after work on a Thursday. It might be walking the dog in the afternoon. It could be anything at all that gets your body moving. So just have a little think about what you do throughout the week on a regular basis that gets your body moving. So I've given about 15 seconds now because I've been chatting on. So I'll give you now another 15 seconds or so before we go on to the next slide. So just having a think about anything you do throughout the week that gets your body moving. Okay, so don't worry too much if you haven't been able to write the whole table down or anything like that. The main thing is you just had to think about what you do. You can refer back to this workshop, this webinar on My FFC if you need to as well. So what should we do what should we be doing physical activity wise throughout the week? So we should be doing around 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise or physical activity, or 75 minutes of more vigorous intensity. So this is higher intensity exercise. So when we look at the 150 minutes per week, a lot of people look at that and think that's quite a high figure and they don't achieve it. But in reality, it's not actually that much. So when we take the 7 days of the week and we divide 150 by 7, it's around 20 minutes a day of physical activity. So it's not actually that much. So it might just be a case of looking back at the table before where you might have drawn it out and just seeing what gaps you have throughout the week. Where can you fit 20 minutes a day of walking in, for example, if time management is an issue? Can you go for a walk on your lunch break and eat your lunch rather than sitting at the table? Can you, if you're going for your food shopping, can you park in the car parking space furthest away from the doors rather than the one closest to the front of the doors, which so many of us do? These little things that we can do over time can make a big difference. So we're also supposed to do 2 strengthening sessions a week as well. And here's just a few more pictures. So we've got someone doing some strength exercise at home, 2 people doing a walk, We've got someone here doing some gardening as well. So it doesn't have to be in the gym if you don't enjoy the gym. It's whatever's right for you, whatever you enjoy. So if you enjoy gardening and that's going to motivate you to get out in the fresh air and get moving, that's completely fine. And then this picture here is actually a picture of a walking football session. So I use this picture because I've got quite a bit of experience in running these sessions for fire and rescue personnel that are maybe recovering from injury or don't feel as fit as they used to. And these walking football sessions are great. But it's not just walking football. You can do any sport in a walk-in version. But sometimes for these people doing these sessions, the social and the mental health benefits outweigh the physical health benefits as well. So these can be really important for some people that haven't played sport for a long time. So we know, we know, and we've probably all experienced at times, barriers that prevent and make it more challenging for us to do exercise and be physically active. So we're just going to go through a list of common barriers now and some potential solutions for them. So time management is one of the most common ones that people say, I haven't got the time to go and exercise with family and with work. Energy. So after we've done a long day at work, sometimes we don't necessarily want to just go out and do exercise. You might be very tired. Money as well. So gym memberships can be expensive. We can be paying 40, 50, 60, even £100 a month in gym memberships at some of the more premium gyms. Motivation is a big one. Injuries and health conditions. So if you've got an injury or you've got a long-term health condition, it can make it quite fearful doing certain exercises and other commitments. So work, family, that kind of stuff. So here's just some solutions to them. So if time management is an issue for you, just try and make everyday tasks more active. Like we were saying about, can you park further away from the doors of the shop that you're going to? These little things that you can do, going for a walk on your lunch. Energy, use it or lose it. So this means basically, so if we've sat around and had a lazy week or a lazy weekend, we actually feel less productive. We feel more lethargic. Whereas if we've been on the go and quite productive and doing lots of physical activity, we generally feel more motivated and we have more energy to get things done. Money. So utilize cheap and free hobbies. So that you don't necessarily, although gym memberships can cost a lot of money, you can just go to a certain class that you like the look of that might only be a few pounds, or it doesn't cost anything to go for a walk. So it's just utilizing the environment around you and just going for a walk if that's all you need to do. If you struggle with motivation, consider why being physically active is important to you in the first place. Is it to rehab an injury? Is it to improve your mental health, your physical health? Are you doing it to see friends? And then if an injury or health condition is one of the issues, why, focus on what you can do, not what you can't do. So use what you used to do as a long-term goal to build back to, rather than trying to jump in at the deep end and potentially causing more damage in the meantime. So use that as a long-term goal. So what is good mental health? So if you are in a good mental health, you can make the most of your potential. You can cope with life better and play a more fuller part in your social aspects of your life, whether that's family, work, friends, hobbies. The social aspect here is such an important component to our health and well-being. People with a good mental health tend to have a good social life too. They tend to be active, they have plans, hobbies, they have a good social network around them. So these elements are really significant towards having a good overall sense of well-being. And it's really important that we value the social areas of our life rather than just fixating on our physical health or our mental health, because our social health really contributes to both of those. So just some mental health benefits of exercise then. So higher self-esteem. So if we're hitting our exercise goals, whether that's we're trying to lose weight or whether we're trying to put on muscle mass, you start seeing those results in the mirror, we generally feel good about ourselves. And if we have done an exercise session, we usually do feel good about ourselves after we've done that. And that's the endorphins that are getting released in the brain, the chemicals that are being released. We know there's reductions in stress, anxiety, and depression from being physically active. And we also know there's lots of cognitive benefits. So the growth of brain cells, and this is really important as we age as well. So we slow down the aging process. We reduce the likelihood of illnesses such as dementia. We improve sleep as well. And that doesn't mean doing a 100-meter sprint just before you go to bed at night. If you like doing things that are higher in intensity, do try and do them in the morning or the afternoon rather than late at night. If you do enjoy doing things in the evening, things like Tai Chi and yoga have been shown to improve sleep. More energy, so less fatigue. We spoke about that, and mental toughness as well. So using exercise as a coping mechanism can be really important in trying to improve mental health. And social benefits as well, obviously building new relationships, which we've already covered. So we know that from research that the more variety of different forms of exercise that we do, the better mental health improvements we see. And the main thing is, it's great if you're already doing exercise or you have hobbies that are active, but you might want to be able to include other forms of activities too. So as we spoke about earlier, it doesn't necessarily need to be in the gym or a 100-mile bike ride. It's about mixing things together. So a leisurely bike ride with your friends or family is fine, or playing a sport you enjoy. They all contribute towards your health and well-being. You'll notice here this in the pictures, there's some people doing Tai Chi as well. So again, it's just about mixing up things, a variety of different intensities. But the main thing is that the most important thing is that you're doing something rather than nothing that gets you active. So that's the most important thing. So we know that there's a direct link between our physical health and our mental health. So if we don't look after one efficiently, the other one is likely to be affected as a result of that. So if we look at the statistics of a crossover, so we can see here on the screen that 37% of people with a long-term physical health condition, whether that's an illness, a health condition, or an injury, will suffer with a mental health illness as well. And then vice versa. So if we flip it around on the other side, nearly half of all people, so 46% of people with mental health symptoms, will suffer with a physical health illness, injury, condition as well. So there's a direct link between the two and an overlap. So if we just think about why this might be, so if we take, for example, the top one, so why are 37% of people with a long-term physical health issue suffering with mental health illness? So some things that you might think about might be, if they do have a long-term physical health problem, they might be worried or fearful about their recovery, which is then going to impact their mental health potentially. And then if we think about if someone is, let's say, if someone's off work, for example, with long-term back pain, that's going to have an impact on their social life as well, because they're not necessarily interacting with other people. So again, that can contribute to loneliness. Or if someone's got a physical health injury, like an ankle injury or a knee injury, and you can't then go do the hobby that you like doing, whether that's playing football, whether that's going to the gym or doing classes. If you can't do that, not only do you miss out on the physical health benefits, but you're missing out on the mental health benefits as well from socializing with everyone. So you lose that social connection. So on the other side then, if people are struggling mentally, why might they be more likely to suffer physically? Well, if we think about this one, if they are suffering with mental health symptoms, food hygiene might not be the top of their priority list. So if they're eating poor nutrition into their body, that might result in weight gain. Or if they're eating a lack of nutrition, so they're not eating very much, that can result in weight loss as well. And both of those can have physical health consequences as well. So if we take a combination of not eating very healthy food and not being motivated perhaps to go and do exercise, a combination of eating poor food and not doing exercise, that might result in weight gain as well. So when we do become overweight or we become obese, obviously that increases the likelihood of certain chronic conditions. So if we think about type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, so you can see why the two of them really have a close association, our physical health and our mental health. So it can turn into a bit of a vicious cycle. And once we enter that vicious cycle, whether it's from a physical perspective or a mental perspective, it's quite difficult to get out of that vicious cycle and break the rut. So we know that there's lots of benefits, mental health benefits from doing exercise. So we know there's a reduction in anxiety, a reduced stress, reduced depressive symptoms. But how about using exercise as a form of treatment as well? So this graph is taken from a video that I would normally show, but I've just kind of taken a snippet out of the video. So this one here talks about the points that we were just speaking about, but the focus here is on depression, although in the video they were talking about anxiety as well. So it's not just depression, but by adding some structured exercise, so you can see the blue line here and the orange line is no exercise, so symptoms, and then at the bottom, time frame within 3 months. So just by adding a bit of structured exercise to their ongoing treatment, so that might have been talking therapy, medication, you can see a significant decrease in depressive symptoms within 3 months. So this is why exercise and physical activity can play an important role with regards to helping people that are suffering with mental health illnesses, because this research actually shows that exercise can have a significant antidepressive effect on people that are suffering with depression. So it can be a very powerful tool in helping to improve mental health symptoms. So we spoke about how exercise and physical activity can be beneficial to improving mental health symptoms such as depression. But what about the protective effect that exercise and fitness can have in avoiding mental health illness? So this research here based on fitness levels. So on the left, you'll see fitness levels, so low, moderate, and high. And on the right, you'll see a likelihood of diagnosis of depression. So as you can see, people with a low level of fitness here, so low level of fitness are up to 75% more likely to have a diagnosis of depression than people with a high level of fitness. So this is why it's really important that no matter how we're feeling, whether we feel fine or whether we've got things going on, that we try and maintain as high level of fitness as we can. Because by looking after our physical health, we're actually preserving our mental health without even realizing it. So a common question that we ask ourselves before we are starting up a new hobby or we're trying to become physically active is how and where do I start? It might seem like a really easy question for some people, but for some people, this can be a really difficult question. It's completely personal, and it's important that you engage in the right exercise or the right activity to keep you motivated and to keep you doing it. So one of the key things that you want to think about is, do you prefer being indoors or outdoors? So if you don't like being outdoors in the cold in February, like we're in now, then try and do something that's indoors. It's going to keep you motivated, something that you enjoy doing. Do you prefer doing things in a group, or do you like doing things on your own? If it's going to make you more anxious, the thought of doing things in a group, start on your own, build up your fitness, build up your confidence. Whereas if you like getting those social benefits, then obviously group activities have that. You might already be active, but you're just lacking motivation. So in that case, just try something new. Or if you are put off by exercise or sport, and not everybody enjoys doing exercise or sport, that's completely fine, because we're all different. And if that is the case, just try something that isn't necessarily sport or exercise. So walking, garden projects, home improvements, volunteering, anything that gets you active and socializing with people. And another thing here, so if you can't do sport, whether that's as a result of your physical health, and I've met lots of people that aren't in a great way physically, that can't always do the sports they want to do or the exercise they want to do, just going along as a fan or a spectator is better than not being involved at all. So if you enjoy football or basketball or netball, whatever it is that you enjoy doing, but you can't physically do that, just go along and watch it as a spectator, because there's psychological mental health benefits from doing that as well. So here is just some ideas on how to become more active. So there's quite a list here, really. So local leisure centres at the top are a great place to start. There's lots of classes there: Pilates, Zumba, circuits, all sorts of things that you can do that are actually quite cheap if you do them session by session. Or if you don't want to do something with a group, you can get these fitness apps on your phone or on your watch. You can get Garmin's or Fitbits, where you can challenge yourself, try and do more steps tomorrow than you've done today. So start really small and just use small goals like that to try and increase your physical activity. Again, I'm not going to go through the whole list, but it's just some examples on how you can get more active. There's lots of schemes like University of Third Age, which is good for the more retired population. Again, this is based on avoiding social isolation. Men's sheds, community builders, lots and lots of stuff. Firefighters Charity can also help with this as well. So we have living well groups. We've got MyFFC, which is the app that we spoke about, and at various centres around the country that we're running kickstart programs, which are designed to try and boost that initial level of fitness if you have been deconditioned or not able to exercise for a while. So lots of ideas here. So as I did touch on earlier with the walking football, there's lots of different other sports that do have walking variations. So netball, basketball, hockey, rugby, cricket, and these are becoming increasingly popular due to the physical, mental, and the social benefits of them. So walking football is now the UK's fastest growing sport as well, because anyone can do it, and there's a reduced chance of injury from doing it as well. So you think about, if you haven't played sport for a long time and you suddenly have this open up to you, it can be massive in terms of your mental health. So really, really important for some people. Lots of people stop playing sports because they don't feel like they're fit enough. So if you think about people that haven't played some of these sports since their 20s or their 30s, this can be huge for their lives. And they're more accessible than ever as well. I think that there's over 1,000 walking football teams across the UK, but they're everywhere. So just have a little look if there's a previous sport that you used to do that you don't do anymore, that you might want to get back into. So In terms of support and treatment, so usually your first port of call it would be your GP, so they can provide initial assessment support, and they can then refer you on for further treatment options if necessary. But another form of treatment that you can inquire about is the Firefighters Charity. So whether that's mental health or psychological support, or whether it's physical support, we have psychological therapists, we have exercise therapists, we have physiotherapists as well. So if you ring the charity hotline, if you do have anything going on, whether it's mental or whether it's physical, my advice would be to get in touch with the Firefighters Charity. So you can ring the charity hotline number, which is on the website, and it's actually in the top right hand corner here as well, where you'll speak to an assessment practitioner, and they can then refer you to the appropriate person to kind of speak to and get further support. The most important thing with this is that you take action early rather than trying to let things bottle up. That classic analogy of the bottle filling up and then overflowing before it's too late. So try and take action earlier, whether that's physical or whether it's mental, because we have trained professionals here that are here with the charity for the reason of helping people like yourself. So just get in touch if you have any doubt at all, or are interested in more support. So we do have the app that I've been speaking about quite frequently throughout this talk. So My FFC. So this is a great tool because it's completely free. You can get it on your phone or on the computer. And there's not only will you have all of the webinars on My FFC, but there's lots of other resources as well. So you've got different groups that might be on resilience, for example. We have a diet and nutrition group. We have a physical health group as well. And not only can you interact with other people, like-minded people, but you can also interact with trained health professionals. So you can interact with any of us on there as well. And it's great, and you can keep it in your pocket and interact whenever you want.